This is my YouTube channel Abinav 23. Today I am going to continue the chapter Nature and Significance of Management. Now the topic is characteristics of management. After going through some of the definitions, we find some elements that may be called the basic characteristics of management. The first characteristic of management is a goal-oriented process. An organization has a set of basic goals which are the basic reason for its existence. So every organization needs to have a goal for its survival. And these goals should be clearly stated and it should be very simple. Different organizations have different goals. For example, the goal of a retail store may be to increase sales. But the goal of the Spastic Society of India is to impart education to children with special needs. Means they provide education to the mentally disabled children. And here, management combines or unites the efforts of different individuals in the organization towards achieving these goals. So a management or a good manager has to unite the efforts of different individuals in the organization towards achieving these goals. The second characteristic is management is all-pervasive. The activities involved in managing an enterprise are common to all organizations, whether economic, social or political. Okay, the examples of economic organizations are World Bank, International Monetary Fund, World Trade Organization, etc. And for social organizations, colleges, hospitals, schools, etc. And for political organizations, political parties, non-governmental organization, etc. Let us take the example of a school, a hospital or an IT company. Wherever you go, you will find management. Management is present all over the world. In India, in USA, in England, everywhere. Wherever you go, you will find management. What managers do in India, the USA, Germany or Japan is the same. How they do it may be quite different. So the activities performed by the managers will be common, but the way of performing the activities will be quite different. This difference is due to the differences in culture, tradition and history. So the activities performed by the managers will be same in all the countries, but the way of performing those activities will be quite different. That difference is due to the differences in culture, tradition and history from one country to another. The third characteristic is management is multidimensional. Management is multidimensional. Management is a complex activity and it has three main dimensions. These are management of work, management of people, management of operations. The first one is management of work. All organizations exist for the performance of some work. All organizations have to do some work to survive in the market. In a factory, a product is manufactured. In a garment store, a customer's need is satisfied. And in a hospital, a patient is treated. So, every management has a goal to be achieved. So for achieving those goals, a manager has to solve his company's problems and he has to make some decisions and he has to establish some plans and also he has to prepare a budget which is a financial plan for the company. And then he has to assign some responsibilities to his employees, and then finally he has to give an authority to a person or an employee to carry out some specific activities. So this is management of work. The second dimension of management is management of people. Management of people. Human resources or people are an organization's greatest asset. Human resources or people are an organization's greatest asset. Despite all developments in technologies, getting work done through people is a major task for the manager. Managing people has two dimensions. Managing people has two dimensions. The first dimension is dealing with employees as individuals with diverse needs and behaviors. So, in the first dimension, a manager has to deal with his employees as individuals, not as a group. He has to deal with his employees as individuals with diverse needs and behavior. Each and every employee has his own needs and behavior. So the manager has to deal with those employees separately. The second dimension is dealing with individuals as a group of people. In the first dimension, the manager deals with employees as individuals with diverse needs and behavior. So in the second dimension, a manager deals with individuals as a group of people. So there's just one difference here. The first dimension, he deals with the employees as individuals, and the second dimension, he deals with the individuals as a group of people. And the task of management is to make people work towards achieving the organization's goals. So the task of the manager is to make people work towards achieving the organization's goals. He has to identify, and then he has to give his employees a work accordingly. And he has to make their strengths effective and also their weaknesses irrelevant. The third dimension of management is management of operations. Management of operations. So, no matter what the organization is, it has some basic product or service to provide in order to survive. So, in order to survive, an organization needs to provide some basic product or service. The production process, an organization needs to have the flow of input material and the technology for transforming this input into the desired output for the consumption. So if we want to get a desired output for consumption, we need to have the flow of input materials, and then we need to have a technology so that it transforms the input materials into the desired output or the finished goods for consumption. So this is the management of operations. The third characteristic is management is a continuous process. The process of management is a series of continuous, composite but separate functions. What are those separate functions? Planning, organizing, directing, staffing and controlling. Planning, organizing, directing, staffing and controlling. These are the separate functions. So the management is a series of continuous, composite but separate functions. These functions are simultaneously performed by all managers all the time. For example, some days a manager may spend more time in planning, and on another day he may spend more time in sorting out an employee's problem, and on other day he may spend more time in organizing or directing. So like this, the task of managers consists of an ongoing series of functions. So it is an ongoing series of functions, and hence management is a continuous process. The fifth characteristic is management is a group activity. Management is a group activity. Before going to the topic, let us take an example. There are three different employees in a company. One is Mr. A. Mr. A has 5 years of experience in marketing department and he needs a good salary. The next one is Mr. B. Mr. B has 10 years of experience in finance department and he needs promotion. And finally, Mr. C. Mr. C has 20 years of experience in human resource department. He needs job security. All these three different employees work under a manager, Mr. M. One day, manager Mr. M calls all three of them for a meeting and tells them, "Dear team, we have to complete our goals." Now, Mr. A asks the manager, "Sir, if I will work hard, will I get a good salary?" On this, the manager M responds, "Why not? You will get a good salary if you work hard." Now, Mr. C asks the manager, "Sir, if I will give my best, can you ensure job security up till my retirement?" On this, the manager Mr. M replies, "Yes, your job will be safe as far as we meet the goals of this team." Then finally, Mr. B asks the manager, "Sir, if I will give my best, will I get promoted?" On this, Mr. M replies, "Yes, you will be promoted if you work." In this way, the wise manager, by properly applying management skills, accomplished organizational goals by helping employees achieve their individual goals. Management is a group activity. An organization is a collection of diverse individuals with different needs. Every member of the group has a different purpose for joining the organization. But as a member of the organization, they work towards fulfilling the common organizational goals. So each employee has his own needs and he has his own purpose to join that job. But as a member of the group, he has to work towards fulfilling the common organizational goals. This requires teamwork, team effort and coordination of individual effort in a common direction. At the same time, management should enable all its members to grow and develop as needs and opportunities change. The sixth characteristic is management is a dynamic function. Management is a dynamic function. Okay, first let us take an example of the Tempting Burger. Tempting Burger is a famous chain of Europe which primarily deals in non-veg burgers. When the company launched their chain of non-veg burgers in India's various cities, it started making profits initially, but the profits started to decline with the passage of months. And soon, profits turned into losses. A quick meeting was called in which the CEO, the marketing manager and the whole team connected or associated with the launch of the non-veg burgers gathered. After studying the market analysis report, they came to a conclusion that 70% of the Indian market was non-vegetarian and 30% was vegetarian. So, if a group of 5 friends wanted to go out to have burgers, at least one out of them would like to have a veg burger. This meeting changed the way that company used to take the Indian market. That company started to include vegetarian burgers in its menu. That means it adapted to a change and which made the organization dynamic. This started to have an impact on the business of the organization, and the losses started to decline with passage of time, and soon these losses turned into profits for the company. So whenever a company adapts itself to the external changes or dimensions of business environment, it becomes dynamic. Coming back to the topic, which is management is a dynamic function. Management is a dynamic function and has to adapt itself to the changing environment. An organization interacts with its external environment, which consists of various social, political, and economic factors. In order to be successful, an organization must change itself and its goals according to the needs of the environment. So the environment will be changing, but the organization or the manager has to make the changes accordingly. You probably know that McDonald's, the fast food giant, made major changes in its menu to be able to survive in the Indian market. The last characteristic is management is an intangible force. Management is an intangible force. What is intangibility? The things that we cannot see and that we cannot touch, but it can be felt. Those things are called as intangible goods, but here it is intangible force. What is it? Management is an intangible force that cannot be seen, but its presence can be felt in the way the organization functions. We cannot see the management or we cannot touch the management, but we can certainly feel the management, we can certainly feel the effects of the management in which the organization functions. How the effect of the management is noticeable? There are 3 to 4 ways. If the targets are met according to its plans, or if the employees are happy and satisfied, and if there is orderliness instead of confusions or chaos, then we can say that there is a management there. So a management's effects can be felt. What are those effects? Targets are met according to the plans, employees are happy and satisfied, there is orderliness, and there is no chaos or confusions. Then we can say that the management is present. So management is an intangible force. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you.